Zephin Blacksburg here, back again with another round of interviews for the Life Rescripted Summit. And today I'm joined by Mara Glazer, and not only is she a good friend of mine, but she also was my first employer after college. So it's great to have her here. Mara's unapologetic, cut the crap approach to business and success, along with her in the trenches, hands on experience of building and running successful businesses, starting at a very young age. Not to mention her charming energy that sometimes leads to contagious laughter, is why she has become a leading authority helping entrepreneurs and miserable day job dwellers build their best damn business and life. Mara started in her industry working alongside her father, Bill Glazer, at the company he founded, Glazer Kennedy Insider Circle, and I worked there too, which was built into the largest provider of marketing and money making information to small business owners around the globe, and then sold to a venture capital firm in 2011. During her 2 years at GKIC, she had access to the top training and offline and online marketing experts in the world. These 2 years were equivalent to a PhD in marketing and the latest social media strategies. While at GKIC, she generated an additional seven figures in less than 278 days using social and alternative media alone. Since then, she has been featured on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, The Huffington Post, The Baltimore Sun, and many other major media outlets, and has traveled the country speaking. And today she's hanging out with me to talk about how to build your best damn business and your best damn life. What's going on, Mara?
Hey, good to see ya.
Yeah, so we worked together at GKIC, and I was very fortunate enough to kind of watch your journey into your own business. So maybe tell me a little bit about what happened after GKIC. You've got all this marketing knowledge, you decided to go off on your own, and you started a very successful business. So what happened there?
I had actually always wanted to have a business, or for a very long time, I wanted to have a business, but was afraid to take that initial step into going out on my own. And that's one of the reasons I ended up working with my father, who owns that company, was kind of like that next safety step, right? So when my father sold Glazer Kennedy in 2011 to the venture capital firm, two things happened. So one, I quickly realized that I wasn't the employee type and that I really needed to go out on my own. And two, they almost kind of pushed us all out, right? I don't know if I'm allowed, if I should say that, but they did. And so you know, I was almost pushed into starting my own business. I was pushed into starting my own business, and it was really scary at the time because I had never owned my own business before, and I had no email list. I had nothing. I didn't even know what I was going to do. But looking back on it, it's been what, maybe like 5, 6 years now. It was probably one of the best things that could have happened for all of us. You know, for me, I started my business. I now live a very free lifestyle. I was just in Kentucky for the past 6 days. I barely did any work at all. You know, to see what you've accomplished, and you've got your podcast now, and you've got a successful video production company, and really so many of our employees that work there at Glazer Kennedy, it was really a blessing in disguise. And at the time, I was terrified, and I had hired an employee to help me when I first got started, not knowing how I was going to pay her, not knowing how I was going to pay myself, and to really look back at that and see how far I've come is really cool. And I know there's a lot of people listening to this that want to make that transition, right? Who want to leave their day job probably, and we were just talking about this prior to hopping on the call. Like, just do it, because you're going to look back a couple years down the line and say, yeah, that was hard, but I'm so much better off. If
Yeah,
that's what you want to do, if
yeah,
that's what you want to do.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that you hit on a really good point there is that there are silver linings. So you were talking about the gift in, being pushed out of having a full-time job. We always constantly have to look for the silver lining in any situation. And I think as entrepreneurs, especially, we get that a lot. There's always some obstacle or something that's showing up in our path, and you really have to figure out, this happened, and here's some of the good things that came out of and just kind of keep moving forward. And that's something that allows us to keep pushing. So, what type of a business did you decide to build after that, and what was your big why in creating a business as opposed to going back to a job?
hmm So let me talk about the why first. So one of the big reasons it was important for me to have a business and not work for somebody else, besides what I said before, which is I'm not the employee type, is actually my back. So in 2003, I had my spine fused with two titanium rods, and then in 2009, because of the tension and pressure in my back from the rods and also the stress of my corporate job at the time, I actually tore my spine. And I couldn't walk, I couldn't drive, I couldn't work. There was really not that much that I could do. And it was in that moment that I knew that I couldn't have a 9 to 5 job working for somebody else anymore because I needed the freedom to be able to take care of myself when I needed to. So that was my big why. Like I knew, besides the fact that I would be miserable working for somebody else, and they'd probably be miserable having me work for them because I'm a little outspoken sometimes. Um, I knew that I had to do this so that I could take care of myself and my back when I needed to. So I actually ended up starting a magazine, an online magazine for women entrepreneurs called The Busy Buzz, which is no longer around. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do at the time. So I just decided that I was going to do something. And so while I don't have that magazine anymore, that was a really good stepping stone for me to get to the next phase and to really create a lot of success because through that magazine, I was able to create an email list of women entrepreneurs. And then once I decided that I was going to close down the magazine and start a coaching business, I now had a list of all of these potential clients that I could tap into and fill my coaching business, which I successfully did. So I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I just knew that if I did something, that it would get me a step closer to where I was going to end up going, and I trusted in that. And it worked out. I think one of the smartest things I did was to build that email list while I was in that transitionary period.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest takeaway from that is at least do something, instead of just sitting there in limbo and waiting for something to happen. Because the truth is, nothing's gonna happen unless you start doing something. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, and so you answered a little bit of your what was that you started the Busy Buzz, and that was a really cool thing to be a part of for that. And after that, you really went on to build an even bigger and better business, something that you enjoyed even more, and that gave you much more time and freedom in the end. So tell me a little bit about what happened there.
Yeah, so at that point, I was kind of unsure of where I still wanted to go, but I had this list. And so I went out and I found a mentor to guide me through that process, which was one of the next critical pieces for me. So I built a list and I found a mentor to teach me how to build a business that allowed for me to monetize that list and also use my gifts, talents, and skills. So I hired somebody to teach me how to get to where I wanted to go faster than I could on my own because they've done it. And so they showed me how to build a coaching business and a consulting business online with very little interaction, face to face interaction with my clients that allowed for me to really work from anywhere, which is something that I wanted to do because my friends are all over the world. I live here in Baltimore, Maryland. Zeph, and you live here in Baltimore, Maryland. And I have a couple friends here in Baltimore, Maryland, Zeph being one of them, but really most of my friends are all over. A lot of them are in Tampa and California, and I wanted to be able to travel. So that was what was next. And so I built a coaching business, teaching business owners how to first use social media, but then eventually build their own online businesses. And just so that you can see what's possible for you, I went to 6 figures in 4 months and multiple 6 figures, $300,000 in coaching I sold in my first year. Um, and that was really cool. That was really cool. I definitely worked my ass off for it. That was for sure. But I had completely replaced my income more than what I was making before in my job. And it was really great next step. So I think like what's really cool looking back is that I'm able to see like I took these really strategic steps every time I was ready to up level that got me to the next place. So while I had like this idea in my mind about like this big picture of what I wanted my life to look like and what I wanted my business to look like, it was really these steps that let me get to that next spot And it's really kind of frustrating while you're going for it because you're like, damn, I just want to be at that place already, right? Like I know you've experienced that a little bit too, but like it's important to take those steps so that you can actually create that end result.
Absolutely. And I think hiring a coach was probably one of the best things I did. But, I'm curious to hear from you. What's your fear going into that? Because from my understanding, many, if not most people who bring on a coach don't actually have the amount of money they need to hire that coach. So, as you know, my first coaching program was around $11,000, and I did not have that much money in my bank account. Now, fortunately, coaches usually give you a payment plan option, but what do you have to say to people who are like, well, there's no way I could afford that? Because I know for me personally, I think it was like my second or third month in, I had like an $8,000 month, and it was like, well, there's three-quarters of the coaching program paid for.
Exactly. So I had a very similar experience to you. The coach that I decided to hire was like $32,000 for the year, and I didn't have 32 grand sitting in my bank account. So I signed up because I trusted her that she was going to tell me exactly what I needed to do to make that money back over and over and over again. And then I trusted myself that I was going to do the work. And I did. So I actually ended up making that money back in 30 days. What I did, which isn't necessarily right for everybody, but what I did is I decided to sell full days of consulting, these VIP days, some people call them. And at the time, I was selling them for like $7,000 a day, and I just put a whole bunch of people into those, and actually put like about 8 people into that, and more than paid for the coaching. So, like, I would say that if you're wanting to start a business, hiring a coach is a really good thing to do, especially if you've never done it before, right? Because they can show you exactly what to do step by step by step. It was one of the things that really helped me. It was one of the things that really helped you. Trust your coach that they're going to give you exactly what you need, and trust yourself that you're going to do the work. If you're not going to do the work, then you should just stay in your job, in my opinion. But it was a pivotal thing for me. Um, so like I think a lot of people probably will be asking themselves like, how do I find a good coach now, like, especially because we've been talking about it. So there's a couple things that I just want to mention. I think it's important for people to know that they should be looking for. By the way, I don't do coaching anymore, so I'm
Don't flood your inbox.
yeah, it's a flip box. I don't do coaching anymore. But one, you want to find somebody that's done what you want to do with excellence and success. There's no point in hiring somebody to help you get where you want to go if they've not proven to do it themselves. So that's number one. Number two, you want to find somebody that has created a lifestyle similar to what you want to create. Because, like, there's a lot of coaches out there who have had a lot of success in their businesses, but they've worked their whole life away to make that. And that's fine if you want that. I know there's some people that are okay with that. Like, I don't want that. I want to spend time with my boyfriend. I want to, like, I'm learning how to garden now and ferment foods and can and stuff like this. Like, I want to have time to do that, right? And three, it should feel right in your gut. Like, never work with a coach or hire a coach that just doesn't feel right for you in your gut. You should know that this just feels good. So those are the three things that you should pay attention to. Number two, I think is really important. I think a lot of people don't do that. They don't pay attention to that. It's really important. You'll end up miserable if you don't, because you'll be having somebody lead you and guide you that is really not in alignment for what you want with yourself, and they won't understand why you want that.
Yeah. First of all, I think it's funny that you brought up fermented food and feeling right in your gut at the same time.
No pun intended.
Yeah, right. But I really have seen this. I think one of the things I've seen is some coaches where they'll connect or reach out on social media, and you can really follow what they're posting online and get at least a little bit of a hint into their personal lives. And I've seen some where it's like, I wouldn't hire you. I thank you for your vulnerability and your willingness to, tell me what's going on in your life. But that doesn't sound like you're making a successful business or life to me. So like that's something that I've done is just kind of really do your research on that, because if they're not, if they're only successful because they're making people pay them a lot of money and they have this small group of 10 or 20 people, it's not really how this works. Like it has to be somebody who's done this before and has a proven track record. Um, but I want to ask you, if we were to make a recipe, because I know that you've been getting into food a lot lately, and let's just say this recipe needed like five things.
Okay.
And we have one recipe for a best damn business, and then separately we'll do one recipe for a best damn life. What does the five things in a best damn business look like? I'm putting you on the spot.
Just in the business.
Just in the business. The life
Okay.
we'll get to next.
Hmm. That's an interesting question. Okay. So let's see. So one, I would definitely say a mentor. Um, Whether that's somebody who's helping you with your whole business or a specific piece of your business, you need that. That's important. A mastermind group. So that if you don't know what that is, I know you know what that is, but if you don't know what that is, that's a group of like-minded people. And if you're starting a business, ideally like-minded entrepreneurs that you can use as a sounding board, that you can use for support, that you can use to get ideas, that you can use for accountability. Okay, that's really important. Three, and a lot of people won't admit this, I think, but money. You need some sort of money. It takes money to make money. Now, that doesn't mean you necessarily need to have a ton of money to do this, but you're going to have to invest in your business in some way. There's expenses. And if you want to get to a certain point, it's going to take money to get there. So, money. By the way, that shouldn't keep you from doing it. There's ways that you can get access to money.
Right. So like that goes to say you could always get a loan from a bank, or, there's been some businesses out there that have started on $1,000, so if you've ever read the $100 startup. So it's not saying that, if you have 2 or 3 grand in your bank account, you can't do it. It's totally possible, but you have to be willing to put some of that money into it.
Exactly, exactly. Um, Four would be a vision, which maybe I should have started off by talking about. So you need to have a clear vision for what you want your business to look like and simultaneously what you want your life to look like. So a big mistake I see people make is they build their business and then they try to fit their life into it. Figure out what you want your life to look like and then build your business into that. So vision, that's really important, and that vision can change over the years. That's okay, but you got to start with something. And then five, um,
What's like the salt and pepper on top that adds a little flavor?
oh Lord, so five, I would say 'cause this has really made it a lot easier for me. So having an email list and a community of people that are really excited about what I'm doing, ravenous fans that one, I can make a big impact with, but two, that can really be a great source for me to pull into or promote to really to create cash injections and really have a pool of prospects to sell to. So let's review those, right? So we talked about a vision, we talked about having a mentor, being a part of a mastermind, having access to money, and then having an email list. On the spot, those are my five.
Cool. Cool. So, one of the big things that, as I learned over the last couple of years was that it's great to build a successful business. It's great to have more money. As you know, in my first year, started making twice what I was making at my job. And at the same time, there's this thing called life, and we have to be able to live it, and there has to be a balance of having this business and then also having life outside of it. So what are our five ingredients if we look at just life, and keeping in mind and staying in alignment with what our business allows us to do, because obviously we get more freedom, we get more money and things like that. So what would be our five pieces of life for a best damn life?
These are some interesting questions that I've never been asked before. So let's see. I think, hmm. So for me, how about for me? I'll talk about what that was for me. So one, that is being in an environment that is something that makes me happy. So my home environment. Because you spend a lot of time there, right? You probably spend a lot of time at home. I'm an introvert, which a lot of people don't know or believe, and I spend a lot of time at home. So being in a place that feels really good for you, actually right now you can't see it because I strategically positioned the camera this way. But we just moved into this home and we're renovating it. So there's like boxes and clothes everywhere, and it's like driving me crazy, right? But it's I've always spent a lot of time creating my home environment so that I could just feel really good and like feel at home at home. So that's one of them. Two, I would say strong relationships. And that looks like having a strong relationship with yourself, first and foremost. And really being able to be comfortable with yourself, which I think's hard for a lot of people. And maybe there's somebody else that can speak to that on your summit. There probably is. And having strong relationships with your family, your friends, if you have a significant other, that's a piece of it. I know for me, for a long time, I really looked for a significant other. There's this running joke that I was like single for like 10 years, which I was, and I finally found one. I know that's added a lot of joy to my life. So cultivating great relationships, whatever that looks like for you. Um, Three, I'm gonna say,
I think that
only
might have
bringing
been three.
Okay, so let's go to four. Four is really only bringing things into your life that cause you joy and allow for you to feel joy. So, Joe Polish, who is another marketing expert, recommended this book to me called The Life Changing Magic of Tidying Up, which is on the surface a book about tidying up your home and really only keeping the things that bring you joy. So you would pick up something in your house, this computer mouse, for example, and you would say, does this bring me joy? If it doesn't, you get rid of it. And if it does, you keep it. So that book really opened up my eyes to like, well, what if we did that for everything, right? Like, what if it wasn't just the clothes in my closet or, the stuff on my desk? And so I think that's like a really interesting mindset shift for a lot of people. Like, what if we just got rid of all the shit that didn't bring us joy and we kept everything that did? How would our lives change? Right. And so that's what I've started doing, which has been really interesting and fascinating and cool for me. You know, I just turned down a contract that would have been worth about $300,000 to me because I knew I wasn't going to be happy doing it. And like at the time, I was like, oh, that hurts. But looking back on it, I'm like, wow, I'm going to be so much happier for that. So that's number four, right? And number five in the recipe for having the best damn life, I would say, and this may tie into relationships, surround yourself with people that believe in you and that love you and want to see you be successful. Um, there's something really interesting that happens when somebody believes in you, or just look at it from the opposite way. Like, have you ever believed in somebody so much and you've seen how that's allowed for them to rise? Like, so that's going to be so beneficial for you to have people believe in you. So surround yourself with people that believe in you. That could look like a coach mentor we talked about. That could look like your friends and your family. That could look like going to like networking groups in your area. There's like a lot of meetups and stuff, and just like finding really like-minded people, that could look like getting that from your kids, whatever that looks like for you. Just make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that believe in you.
Awesome. So we got two pretty sweet recipes there for best damn business and a best damn life, huh?
Yeah. Cool.
With no fermented, rotting stuff in the way.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Fermented foods are very good for your gut, Stefan. You should try.
Apparently so. Well, having a good business and a good life is good for your gut too, because they won't cause you unneeded stress, and then your body will actually respond well.
Man, that's for sure.
So, this has been a fun discussion, and it's always fun hanging out with you. Real quick, maybe just some advice if you were, just looking back over, it hasn't been all too many years, right? Like it's only been, 5 or so years. What advice could you give to your younger self? Maybe, just a couple lessons that you've learned, whether it's in business or in life. I mean, I know you talked about a lot of lessons so far, but is there anything else looking back that, you could have done differently, that might have changed your path for the better?
Hmm. Yeah. So I think really, um, I think that there's been times in my career where I've been swayed to do things that I was good at, that were okay, but weren't ultimately what I wanted to do. Or maybe that I had a great skill set in that I knew would be easy for me. And so if I could tell my younger self a piece of advice, I would probably say, back to going with your gut, go with your gut, and like just figure out how to make it happen, because you're gonna either way you're gonna have to figure out how to make something happen. If you want to start a business, you might as well figure out how to make the business that you really want happen, right? So it takes the same energy, it takes the same time, it takes the same drive, it takes the same investment, roughly. I mean, maybe not, but so, just go with your gut of what you really want to do, listen to what you want to do, and go for it. And I'll leave you with two more pieces of advice. I think the one that I talked about finding a mentor, that's really important, because I know how much that changed my life. Again, I don't offer mentorship anymore, so it's not like I'm trying to sell my services. Like, I really believe in it. Find a mentor, but really make sure that they're in alignment with the lifestyle that you want to have for yourself. And then three, this is a piece of advice my father taught me. I'm so blessed to have a father who's also a great mentor. But he once said to me, Mary, you don't necessarily have to know what's next, but you have to keep your eyes open for great opportunities. And so I imagine there's a lot of people on this telesummit who are kind of feeling like they're trying to figure out what's next, because I think that's a big part of the theme of the summit. So, I think that piece of advice was very helpful for me, and I hope that it's helpful for a lot of the listeners as well.
Awesome.
Cool.
That's solid. And of course, your dad's always given me a lot of words of wisdom too. So he's a very wise man, and you're very fortunate to be able to learn from him.
My dad's the bomb.
Yeah, basically, we both got to work for him, so we get to bond over that a little bit, and we get to see him. Well, you see him more than I do, but we get our reunions once a year, which is pretty awesome too.
That's right.
So, this has been a great conversation. Would love to round it up. What is the best way for people to keep track of you and what you're doing, and to connect online?
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so I actually put together a free gift that I think will be helpful for people listening to this summit and participating in the summit that want to start a business, right? So if you go to the website, maraglazer.com/bizcongift, that's maraglazer.com/bizcongift. I'm going to share with you some of my best damn marketing blueprints to boost and grow your business. And there's one in particular that I think will be very helpful to most of the people listening to the summit, which is how to build a six-figure business in just 4 months blueprint. So I've done this twice, and I'll show you how step by step by step, so that if you're thinking about starting a business, you just started a business, or even if you have a business and you want to grow your business, you can get the blueprint to do that. And then there's a couple other trainings as well. So really, no matter what level you're at, there will be something for you. So that's maraglazer.com/biz, B-I-Z, con gift. And that's the best way to reach me.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mara Glazer on how to build your best damn business and life. Thanks so much for being here today, and I will talk to you very soon.
Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.